it's great to have you back on the MeBox Mastermind, and just delighted to have the chance to talk to you about authority marketing. And I know you've had not only some successes in the area yourself, but you're experiencing a new success here this week. And if the time's right, I'd love to let folks know what you're doing. But as an experienced authority marketer, can you tell us how's an authority business get its first sale?
Hi, Mark. Well, it's my pleasure as well to be with you today. And I've enjoyed our previous conversations, and I'm sure we'll both enjoy today's session. And the question that you ask is very interesting. And it's very interesting and it's very important. Because one of the things which is very noticeable is that buyers' behavior has changed, and it's changed significantly in very recent years. And that change in behavior is going to continue to accelerate.
Okay, so accelerate. What do you mean by that?
Well, this change in behavior is what I'm saying is this. In recent years, and I'm talking in particular about the last 5 years, there's been a growing behavior trait. In fact, now I would call it an obsession, where no one seems to be prepared to make a decision without consulting someone or some source on the web, whatever the decision is. And, people are crowdsourcing opinions. They're seeking advice and references, even for the most trivial of decisions. So it seems. We now have an industry of opinion aggregators. That's what I call them, opinion aggregators. People like to use sites like TripAdvisor or Booking.com in the hospitality industry because they can read what others are saying about a destination or about a hotel. They use Amazon not just for the convenience of shopping, because they can read reviews. So it gives them input and information. They can do comparison shopping. You've got sites like Shopzilla, which are populated by tens of millions of products. And of course, you've got Alibaba, which presents you with a list of suppliers and products and reviews. Just last evening, I was doing a little job for a friend of mine, and I went onto Amazon to source a product, and I had a list of 12 suppliers. Each supplier's rated, each supplier's with the reviews. I can look at them, I can cross compare. And then, I can take those, and because I've got access to WeChat and I've got access to Weibo, I could actually go on to WeChat or Weibo in Asia and China, and I could actually go and say, what do you think about this supplier? And I'll get feedback. So, and then people are pinging questions on Facebook. Go onto Facebook and say, I'm thinking of buying X, or I'm thinking of changing my car. I'm going to buy a whatever. What do you think? And you'll get a load of feedback and recommendations. So this behavior, this obsession to crowdsource opinion is something which has grown dramatically because digital technology has enabled it in recent years. And the behavior has had a significant role in B2C, but now we're seeing it in B2B. Because of this level of transparency and the availability and the ease of finding out a supplier's reputation, others' opinions are having a significant impact on all buying decisions. And trust is everything. There's a survey done by a company called Bibby, and we can put the reference in the notes below the video. And they said that 76% of company buyers prefer a vendor recommended by their network. Now just think about that for a moment. Think about how it's come in from B2C and social media, and now it's come into corporate buying.
Well, you're right. That's a significant change in behavior. So where does the trust come from? I mean, is it all in just the reviews?
Well, reviews obviously play a part. And I think, let me just take a little sidebar here, because some while ago I wrote a blog about trust. And I talked about the old road warriors, people that would get in their car and they'd travel across country and they go from town to town and they would meet their customers, and they'd go to Rotary, they'd go to Round Table, they'd go to a business dinner, they'd glad hand, they'd shake hands. But what were they doing? They were building trust. They were building relationships. They were taking the message, and those relationships actually created sales for them over a period of time. It's very difficult to do that these days. So trust comes from a different angle, I think, today, and it's being seen. It comes from being seen and acknowledged as an expert, as an authority. And so how do you do this? Because this role as an authority, this leads us on to the concept and the idea of authority-based marketing and authority-based business, which we've talked about before, and you are one of the world's gurus in this space. And I do put the authority in quotes, the word authority in quotes here, because I want to emphasize the critical differentiator that an authority gives you. An authority or an authority-based business has certain characteristics. It's a business that's got an exceptionally high level of expertise in a sector or in a niche. And maybe that expertise is invested in one or two people in a business or in the entrepreneur or even in the solopreneur. These people are at the mastery level in the subject matter, whether it's a profession, a trade, a skill, a knowledge set, or even a sport. And that mastery underpins their core proposition, underpins your core proposition. And you'll find most organizations or authorities operate in very clearly bounded spaces. They provide specialist services. Maybe it's like our own business, Temesis, which is in web communication. We focus on supporting embedded real-time communication in apps. Maybe it's a sector such as someone who specializes in doctor home visits. That's one of our clients, which just come to us very recently, very interesting business in the US. Maybe it's 3D printing with exotic materials, or maybe it's cybersecurity or regulatory compliance. They are people who provide a specialist service at a very, very high level of competence. The last example I used, cybersecurity and regulatory compliance. I had a conversation with the managing director of a company fairly recently, and it transpired that they've been in the cybersecurity business for 15 years. They started off as an IT regulatory compliance business to make sure that people followed regulatory processes and that everything was secure. And it's morphed and it's into cybersecurity. And what he did not realize, and it became clear when we had this conversation, that he had 15 years of experience. And in that 15 years, had gained a level of mastery, which was unsurpassed. Yet he did not understand this idea that he was sitting on a massive asset. He's like everyone else, he's an authority-based business that has the potential to be the industry authority in their space. It's sitting there, and a lot of people don't actually recognize it.
Oh, I agree with that. And so just to get your perspective, what's the difference between an organization that is an authority-based business, and that's the marketing channel or process they're following, and their competitors or others that believe that they're their competitors?
Yeah, this is really interesting, Mark, because I think it's one of those things when you talk to a company or talk to somebody who is the chief revenue officer or the CEO, and you explain this concept and what you and I are going to discuss now, you suddenly see the lights go on and you go, wait, I never thought of that before. You take a conventional business and their go-to-market model. The business sees people as customers, and the customer's role is to buy. Straightforward. And the more sales you want, you get more customers. So in that mindset, to survive, the world is one of continual prospecting. The more people you put in the top of the funnel, the more they flow through and eventually buy something, right? So as long as you can bring a container load full of new prospects and throw them into the top of the funnel, this process will come. Well, you soon find that it's very difficult to keep going out and getting container loads of prospects because, how do you keep this constant stream of bodies? You do. email campaigns, you do social media, you send out bonus offers, you send out coupon offers, you put some content, you've got pay-per-click, you've got Facebook ads. My God, it's a lot of effort. And it takes a lot of measuring, and you don't know where your dollar is going. And it's like, we need another container full of prospects. Go and find some, right? Well, you can do that for so long. But, there is a better way. There is a better way. And, for many businesses, particularly those at the top of the game, the experts, the authorities, the masters, there is a way to make sure that you've got a perpetually filled funnel. And it's as follows. It's simple. And when our listeners hear this, they're going to go, well, it's obvious, isn't it? Well, of course it's obvious, but quite often, the obvious actually escapes us. Instead of going out and dragging prospects, kicking and screaming into the top of the funnel, you create a means by which they will willingly enter into a relationship with you. And then it's a small step from that relationship to a sale. Remember, customers love to buy, but they hate being sold to. The first step is for you to see your potential customer as a VIP. Now, what do I mean by a VIP? I mean a very important prospect. And as a very important prospect, you give them lots of value before they buy. You actually put them into a position where they create a relationship, they recognize your mastery, and they want to engage with you. They want to buy from you. You don't need to sell them. You become their go-to authority for a product or a service. Now, yes, it does take some effort, and maybe because we're going to create a community and a forum, you might need to appoint a social community manager, which manages the relationship with your members of the community and stimulates connections and value in your community. Or it may be you, depends on the size of your business. As a solopreneur, you can be your own social community manager. As an entrepreneur, you can be your own social community manager. Now, your community that you're going to create comprises of your customers, your yet-to-be customers, your interested applicants, your advocates, and your supporters. It's a whole group of people, and members of the community come for the value you supply to them and for the community, because there's an interchange between themselves and other members of the community, which creates value. And they stay in the community because of the value the community gives them. And as they stay, they build the relationship with you. And as they build the relationship with you, they buy. They buy from you. And you can upsell and cross-sell and introduce new products and services, because your community is telling you voluntarily, without you having forum groups and market research and everything else, they're telling you what they need. And the other dimension which I really love about this is that, authorities have global value. Mm-hmm. And many customers in many countries, in many continents across the globe, have the same problem. And if you can solve the problem that the community perceives as a high value outcome, and if your community is spread far and wide, you've got a global customer base. Simple.
I love it. Now, you said a lot, so I'm going to ask you to back up for just a second and walk us through the steps to your first sale based on everything that you've just shared.
Okay. So, first of all, recognize, identify your specialty, your authority. And that's what you're going to start to position yourself as the expert and the masters in that topic. You're going to demonstrate the authority as you communicate, and you're going to communicate with your potential customer base and create a lot of valuable content. It's an investment. Mm-hmm. You're going to define your value proposition based on your level of mastery. And then you regularly publish high quality content. Now, if you publish high quality content today, it will stand out. Most content that's published on the web is at best moving wallpaper. or ice cream cart jingles, right? At worst, it's unmitigated dross. And you publish high quality content against a roadmap for your content that you create. So you create your funnel of content and you put it out. And what I found, because I've been doing this over about the last 9 months, is that although it takes an investment in time, I put out an hour's worth of videos on the change in digital technology and the impact of digital technology on organizations last year. And it took a lot of research, it took a lot of effort in terms of recording, and we put it out as a podcast as well. But I could chop that, I could take pieces, I could take it into bite-sized pieces, I could have a blog on a specific topic, I could have a small post on another topic. So once you've got the foundation, you can cut and mix and match. And the next thing you do, you should also write a book. Now people go, oh, I'm not an author. Well, you see, it's not as difficult as it sounds. I'm not Charles Dickens, right? But yet I've now got 5 books to my name, right? So the most recent one, which I hope you don't mind a plug, but I've got it here, right? Here we go. It's Entrepreneur's 100 Proven Steps to Success. Now that came from a series of blogs. I did some research. I wanted to write some blogs on why startups fail. And that research gave me a whole list of different topics. And I could chop them up into different sections, about financing, about relationships, about product, and so forth. And then what I did, I just pulled them all together, and then I numbered them 1 to 100 and put an introduction at the front, digital publishing, and it was out. Now, it's not War and Peace. This book is maybe 50 pages long, but the people that have actually received it, and you can have a copy free. I'll provide you with a link that you can pass on to our listeners.
Great.
It's had great reviews. They said this could save me thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, not waste my time. Anyway, so you write a book.
And I'll put a plug into it. I've read it. It's good.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate that, Mark. Thank you. So writing a book is not difficult. Remember, you're not writing War and Peace. You speak and you teach, and you connect with the media. Now, speaking and teaching, in this age and in this era, there's great competition for people to get on stage, believe it or not, because a lot of this is ego-driven. And regrettably, it's a little bit of the same as web content. A lot of the ego-driven appearances are light on content and large on ego. And that's a great shame. Now, I think the way through this is you produce a series of videos, and you have to learn to do this. Sorry, there's no shortcut. But learn to do it, and it's not that difficult. If I can do it, like an old guy like me can actually learn to produce videos, then anybody can do it, I can assure you. And you put those out amongst your content. So as people listen to them, they get used to your style. They're going to say, hey, I could use this guy to speak in my organization or with my customers and so forth. And so you speak and you teach and you connect with the media. And you manage your content. As I said a moment ago, you get it out there in bite-sized pieces, using different formats: voice, video, podcasts, written blogs. Now, as your content is perceived to have value, you start to make it exclusive. You make it exclusive to people who are prepared to give you their email address. So now we're moving into the use of opt-in pages and an invitation to get my latest insight paper or get my XYZ. Now, as you collect the email address, then you're going to continue to provide high quality, free content as a trade for that valuable piece of information, the email address. And then you make the community private. So you create exclusivity. And then from there, you then go into your potential customer base and you start to send out invitations. So you become members of this community, members of this forum, this private exclusive community by invitation only. So then you create a forum for the post and discussion, and you continue to add value to your community, and that's it. It's easy. And you start to capture mind share tomorrow. Being recognized as an authority takes time, but, as soon as you start to capture mind share and you create that differentiation and you create the impression and the knowledge that you are an expert and that you are worthy of engaging with, the sale will come. They will come to you and they will buy from you. And you don't need to sell.
And that's the end of the story, folks, because that is exactly the way it works. And thanks for sharing that, Bill. And two things. First of all, writing the book, it is hard. And sometimes the folks that we work with, we suggest that we do a training process, a training program, they've proven their expertise. They're now growing to authority status, and people come in and learn from them online at perhaps a lower rate, and that gives them a chance to scale. But what really happens at that point in time is it becomes a flip the class. Not only is the authority offering something really valuable, they're getting the feedback from those that are learning from it, and they're learning how to provide that information with less and less friction so that they can scale their impact on the world. And the other thing that you mentioned, which I just don't write trash. If you don't have anything to say, do yourself a favor and be quiet. But if you have something to say and it's sincere to your community, what we found, because we recognize you as an authority in the spaces, especially in helping companies get started, and in your incredible ability to synthesize information and drive it out into the marketplace so that people are attracted to hear what you have to say. We recognize that people who are authorities get together, and the synergy that they create by being with one another and learning from one another, it just gives the market an opportunity to say, you know what, in this particular category, this is the direction we want to go with this authority, who is then looking to these other experts and saying it's okay for us all to be part of a community. And those communities begin to splinter, and expertise becomes deeper, and the whole gets bigger, as opposed to the old attitude of my tennis shoe is better than your tennis shoe, and people are only going to buy one tennis shoe.
Yeah.
We find out people own several pairs of tennis shoes. Yeah. But they now know that they're for different reasons. And so collaboration moves us all forward.
It does. And I just, maybe I can just share a story which at the time raised a lot of eyebrows. Some of my friends know that I spent quite a bit of time in the airline industry. I was very, very senior in a very large global airline on the operations side. And there used to be airline conferences. There still are airline conferences. Mm-hmm. And I would make a point of connecting with my counterparts in my competition and making sure that I built a relationship. And why did I do that? Remember, I'm on the operations side. There's going to come a time, and both of us knew this, when first of all, we recognized each other's mastery and knowledge and scope. But we both knew that there's going to come a day when I've got a serious problem and I'm going to reach out and I need your mastery, I need your help, I need your information, even though as I am a competitor. Mm-hmm. And we gave that information willingly to, I gave it willingly to someone in my competition. Now, people are going to raise their eyebrows and go, you did what? Why did you do that? Well, you did that because there was going to be a quid pro quo, because I'm going to need that person in another month's time or 2 months' time. And that then morphed into a group of executives who were sharing exactly what we've taught. A group of people who are masters of this particular space, sharing their knowledge and expertise and creating value. Now, the amazing thing today is that whatever your niche and whatever your speciality is, because of the fact that communication is so easy, you can create a community that is global. Every day I'm talking to people in different parts of the world about entrepreneurship, about startup issues, about startup problems. And I started my own community in that space, as I told you about before we came online. And it all goes down to providing value. And be consistent, provide value, they will come to you, and they will come to you and they'll buy from you. You don't need to sell.
And don't be afraid of folks that are coming up around you. If you've defined your category, they will see that you own that category. They may take some of your information and they'll move us all forward in a slightly different place. And it all works for everybody that way.
Exactly. So, yeah.
You know, being with you is always an inspiration, and I appreciate that and spending your time. I hope we can do this again in another 30, 45 days. We've had a couple of other.
It will be my pleasure.
And I'd like to talk about mastery next time, because I think that's really important. Because as I reflect on it, the more specific someone becomes in their expertise, an audience always, unless it's just unvalued and not with no value, always accumulates around that expertise. And expertise, by fragmenting, takes us all and moves us all forward, because we get deeper knowledge about the entire horizon. And
I think that's a very, very, very important topic, Mark. I think, you know, in this day and age, there is a desire for instant gratification. There is a desire for instant promotion. There is a desire which says, look at me, I've created this app and I can, you know, it's taken me a couple of weeks and look, click, click, click. I am now an expert. Well, sorry, mate, you're not. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think there is, I think it's a topic that's certainly worthy of discussion, because, you know, the true masters, we go back in time and we look at the old system where somebody started off as an apprentice and became a journeyman and became a master craftsman. And it could take 2 decades, or at least a decade. Now, okay, maybe it doesn't take a decade nowadays, but it doesn't take 2 weeks either.
And there's always room for a master craftsman.
Indeed, there is.
Find their own category and then move the whole horizon.
Absolutely.
Right, we'll get off on a topic if we're not careful, and I won't be able to edit the difference between the two topics. So
no, I'll stop.
And I'll look forward to scheduling the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, Mark, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed.